I'm the Jolly Saver, and in this video I'm going to be going through my emergency fund figures for February 2024. So I have a cash emergency fund which I have accessible in an instant access savings account. That interest rate on that savings account is currently just over 4%, and my aim is to have ideally £3,000 in that account, and then alongside that I have my premium bonds account which I'm building up month on month, and the aim is to have at least £3,000 in that as well. So overall my emergency fund goal would be to have 6,000 across the two accounts. So it means if an emergency comes up, I can use that £6,000 before I need to dip into any of my long-term investments. It's been a challenge, and that's because I'm still in a habit of dipping into my emergency fund. So you can see in every single month I've dipped into the fund, and these things haven't been an emergency. What they've been is sort of bad budgeting on my part. So I've been over ambitious with my savings goals, and not setting aside enough money for day-to-day living. So what I had planned on doing for February was to just really try and not withdraw any money. That was my aim. So we'll see how I got on. So started with 1,300. I added £37. And then I withdrew £300. So I still didn't have that habit in place, and the interest that accrued was £4, which meant that the balance at the end of February was £1,041, which is still above my sort of £1,000 minimum, because personally I feel comfortable if I've got at least £1,000 in easy access cash. If I dip below that, I feel a lot more worried about my financial position. So I'll be honest, I find it just really, really hard not to dip into the account. My aim is really just to have a month or two where, I start reducing that amount I'm dipping in. I've reduced it since last month, so that's good. But I want that to continue on to where I only withdraw in emergencies. So what I am trying to do alongside my emergency fund is just to have a cash buffer, which isn't an emergency. It's just like, instead of running my current account down to zero at the end of a month, it's actually, yes, run it down to zero, but put whatever's left over that month, instead of putting it into a mortgage overpayment or into investments, actually just put that in a cash buffer and then use that in a future month if I need extra money. So I do have sort of aims to get this more under control. It's interesting because a lot of people on my mortgage overpayment videos say to me, why don't you save up that money in a savings account instead of overpaying, and you may be able to potentially get a better interest rate and therefore make more kind of money in the long run because you're gaining that interest. Because my mortgage rate is 1.16%, whereas this savings account is 4% interest rate. So mathematically and rationally, yeah, that makes sense. But I know myself that my behaviour, as I've demonstrated month on month, is that if I've got money in a bank account, even though I'm so disciplined in other areas, I will dip into it. And part of that is because I really prioritise experiences in life. So a lot of these expenses that I'm taking from my emergency fund are for things like theatre shows or trips away, just things that I do have a choice over them. But when there's an event linked, say a tour or something, it is kind of a time sensitive opportunity. So it's not like I'm booking a trip away where I could go anytime. I could go in a year's time and have that same trip. it's normally me and my partner going to see a show that's only on one night in London, for example, and it may not tour again, that sort of thing. But I know that that's what we like to spend money on, so I'm trying to get in the habit of putting money aside for that continually, so I'm not sort of surprised when one of these events come up and I'm thinking, oh, I need to get £500 from somewhere. So yeah, so that's my emergency fund update for February 2024. As always, let me know in the comments if you're on a similar journey with an emergency fund, and if you've got any tips or suggestions, I'm always happy to hear them, and I'll see you on the next video.